All right, everybody, welcome back for another deep dive.
Yeah,
Today, we're going to be tackling a topic that I know a lot of you have been asking about, and that's English fluency,
that's right.
how to get better at English speaking.
Yeah.
We've got a really cool source this time from a language teacher named Sam. They've got all these like real world tips
Hmm.
uh, about how to improve.
Yeah.
So we're going to go through those together and, just kind of pick apart, Sam's ideas and see what we can learn from them.
I'm excited for this one. This should be great.
Yeah, I think this is going to be really useful for a lot of our listeners. So let's just dive right in.
Yeah, let's do it.
One of the things that really struck me right off the bat with Sam's advice is this idea of like the awareness problem.
Yeah.
You know,
Right.
they talk about how so many English learners, they get kind of stuck at a certain level and they don't even realize that they're making these common mistakes.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. That's like half the battle right there.
Yeah, exactly. So it's like you think you're doing okay, but then, you're making these like little errors that are kind of holding you back.
I think Sam's biggest point is you have to realize what those mistakes are before you can fix them.
Right, totally.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like trying to put together a puzzle when you're missing some of the pieces.
Yeah.
You might be able to like force it a little bit, but it's never going to be quite right.
Exactly. And you'll be frustrated the whole time wondering why it's not working.
Exactly. And,
Yeah.
this happens to everyone. Like I remember when I was learning French, I could never quite figure out the whole tu versus vous thing.
Oh, yeah.
I felt like I was always saying the wrong thing, and it was so embarrassing.
Oh, I can only imagine. Yeah, politeness is hard in other languages.
It really is. So, yeah, it's all about awareness. So let's get into some of these specific mistakes that Sam talks about, because I think this is where it gets really juicy.
All right, let's do it.
Um, so one of the examples they give that really stood out to me was about the present perfect tense. You know how some people will say things like, I have ate breakfast instead of I have eaten breakfast?
Oh, yeah, I hear that all the time.
Yeah, it's a pretty common mistake. And to be honest, I never really understood why it was wrong until I read Sam's explanation.
Yeah. So for everyone out there, the reason that doesn't work is because in the present perfect tense, you need the past participle.
Okay,
So that's eaten, not ate.
gotcha.
Think of it this way. The present perfect tense is all about like building a bridge between the past and the present.
A bridge. Okay,
Yeah. You've got this action that happened in the past, eating your breakfast, and now you're talking about it in the present. And that past participle eaten is what makes that connection strong.
that makes so much sense. I love that analogy, the bridge analogy.
Yeah. It helps to visualize it.
Okay, so we've talked about verb tenses. Now let's move on to another area that a lot of English learners struggle with, and that is pronunciation.
Ah, yeah, pronunciation.
It's a big one. And Sam specifically mentions the whole T versus D issue, words like this or
Yeah.
thin. And they point out that this is especially difficult for people whose native languages don't have that th sound.
Exactly. It's not a sound that exists in a lot of languages, so it's a really hard one to master.
Yeah. And, honestly, sometimes I even catch myself like slipping up on that one, especially if I'm talking really fast.
Oh, yeah. It happens to the best of us.
So do you have any tips for our listeners on how to get that th sound down?
Yeah, absolutely. So one thing you can try is to think about gently biting down on the tip of your tongue and then like blowing air out.
Like this?
Yeah, exactly. It might feel kind of weird at first,
Yeah.
but it really helps you get that airflow right. And another tip is don't be afraid to like really exaggerate the sound at first.
Okay.
It's all about training your muscles to make that new shape.
So like almost over enunciate it.
Exactly. And then once you get comfortable, you can start to like tone it down a bit.
Okay.
But yeah, just keep practicing and you'll get there.
Cool. All right. So moving right along, Sam also talks about vocabulary mix-ups, and I think this is something that everyone can relate to, even native English speakers.
Yeah, sure.
And the example that they give is affect versus effect.
Classic.
Oh my gosh. I can't tell you how many times I've messed that one up.
Everyone has.
So can you like break it down for us once and for all? How do we remember the difference?
Okay, so here's a little trick. Affect with an A is usually a verb, and it means to influence or change something.
Okay.
Like imagine a superhero using their powers to affect the villain's plans.
Okay, so it's like an action.
Right. And then effect with an E is usually a noun, and it refers to the result or consequence of something.
Okay.
So think of it like the special effects in a movie.
Oh, I see.
They're the effect of all the hard work behind the scenes.
I'm never going to forget that. No,
Yeah.
that's a really good way to remember it.
God, I can help.
So we've talked about all these different mistakes, but, I think the bigger question is, why does this even matter?
Yeah.
Like, sure, we all want to sound like, perfect English speakers.
Yeah.
But is it really a big deal if we make a few little slips here and there?
I think it is because it's really about confidence.
Okay.
When you're not sure if you're saying things correctly, it can make you hesitant to speak up at all.
Oh, yeah, I totally get that.
And that can really hold you back from, like fully engaging in conversations and expressing yourself.
I've definitely been there. I remember once I was giving a presentation to a huge group, and I completely blanked on a key term.
Oh.
I just froze up, and I could feel my face turning red, and I just stumbled over my words for the rest of the talk. It was so mortifying.
It's the worst feeling, isn't it?
It really is. And, even if nobody else noticed, I felt so self-conscious about it.
Exactly. And that's what we want to avoid.
Yeah, for sure.
So, Sam really emphasizes that by correcting these common mistakes, you can gain so much more confidence in your speaking abilities.
Right. It's like taking off the training wheels.
Yeah, exactly. Once you've identified those weak spots and you've worked on them, you can really start to soar.
I love that. So you're not just speaking more fluently, but you're also feeling more confident.
Exactly. And that's what it's all about.
And, at the end of the day, everyone makes mistakes, even native English
Oh,
speakers.
yeah, all the time.
The important thing is to keep learning and keep practicing and, not be afraid to put yourself out there.
Yeah, just keep trying and don't give up.
All right. So to wrap things up, I think the big takeaway here is that by being aware of these common mistakes, we're already on the path to becoming more confident and more fluent English speakers.
Absolutely. And as you continue on your English learning journey, I want you to think about this.
Okay.
What other common English mistakes have you noticed, either in yourself or in other people?
That's a good question.
Yeah, maybe there's a tricky grammar rule that you've never quite grasped, or a pronunciation pattern that always trips you up.
That's a great point.
Yeah, just keep those learning gears turning and never stop exploring.
That's awesome advice. And thank you so much for being here today and sharing your expertise with us.
Oh, it was my pleasure. Thanks for having me.
And to all of our listeners out there, keep practicing, keep learning, and we'll see you next time for another deep dive.
Bye, everyone.